Hello and welcome to Friends World TV. I'm your host Vishal Venkatesh. Thank you for joining the weekly English news bulletin this week. And the news this week has been quite interesting. Of course, we've got the regular COVID-19 updates. We've got news about Trump and Biden, of course, and a lot more news that is of a legal and socio-political nature. But as always, let's get to the headlines first. Victoria records its 15th straight day of zero new COVID-19 cases and zero COVID-19 deaths. South Australia passes legislation to establish safe access zones around abortion clinics. And the New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian wants the national anthem to be changed to acknowledge Indigenous Australians. She says that such a move would be a sign of not just respect, but also dignity. Prime Minister Scott Morrison cancels his Papua New Guinea trip after James Marape's party unrest. And the Victorian timber log exports have been blocked from entering China due to a bark beetle incident. And New South Wales Health reports the 7th consecutive day of no locally acquired COVID-19 cases. Queensland Maroons beat New South Wales Blues 24-18 to win the Women's State of Origin. US President Joe Biden brings in national security experts, with Mr. Trump still denying him being classified, according to intelligence briefs. Nagorno-Karabakh aftermath sees corpses and burnt-out cars line roads as the UN is called in. And the Islamic State IS group has claimed responsibility for an attack on a non-Muslim cemetery in the Saudi Red Sea city of Jeddah, which wounded several people. And Hindus around the world celebrate the Festival of Lights, that is Diwali, as coronavirus cases unfortunately soar high in India. And Aung San Suu Kyi's party wins absolute majority in the Myanmar election. Law firm stops representing Donald Trump in the Pennsylvania vote challenge. Now let's get to the Victorian COVID-19 update. Victorians are enjoying their very first weekend after a long time without the ring of steel separating Melbourne from the rest of the state on the 15th day in a row of no new COVID-19 cases nor deaths. The Deputy Chief Health Officer, Alan Cheng, says authorities are becoming more confident that there are no hidden infections. More than 500 infections that were previously classified as mystery cases have been reclassified now after epidemiologists linked them to known sources. The first weekend without the ring of steel around Melbourne has seen people flock to holiday destinations internally. New laws to establish safe access zones around abortion clinics in South Australia have passed the state's parliament. The new provisions passed on Wednesday night create a 150-metre exclusion zone from the entrance of any facilities that provide abortion services, making protesting within that area illegal. The Greens Member of Parliament, Tammy Franks, who introduced the legislation in the Upper House earlier, said the change would protect patients and workers alike from harassment. The Labor MP, on the other hand, Nat Cook, who moved the bill into the Lower House, where it was passed 34 votes to 9, also hailed its passing. Monique Hurley, a lawyer with the Human Rights Law Centre, said on Twitter that changes would mean women will no longer have to run a gauntlet of abuse just to see their doctor. And the New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian wants the national anthem to be changed so that Indigenous Australians are acknowledged, saying that such a move would be a sign of both respect and dignity. Mrs. Berejiklian said the line, "We are young and free," should be changed to "We are one and free," in order to recognise Australia's 60,000 years worth of Indigenous history. Gladys also said that she's been mulling her decision for a while, and the Australian Law Reform Commission decided not to play the national anthem before the state of origin clashes this year. However, that decision was, of course, as we all know, subsequently reversed. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison has cancelled his plans to visit Papua New Guinea next week as political chaos engulfs Port Moresby. The PNG Prime Minister, James Marape, is under pressure to resign after senior MPs crossed the floor just last Friday. Scott Morrison was set to stop in PNG on his way back from Japan next week. He will still fly to Japan, where he will be the first world leader to meet the new PM, Yoshihide Suga, in Tokyo. China has indefinitely suspended imports of all Victorian timber logs less than a week after an unofficial ban on Australian exports came into effect. Chinese customs notified Australian officials about the ban yesterday. It's understood that a bug was essentially detected in almost 30 consignments to China within the last month alone. And the Australian Forest Products Association is working with officials to resolve this issue as we speak. New South Wales has officially reached a week without no new locally acquired COVID-19 cases. An alert, however, continues for the sewage catchment area surrounding Rouse Hill in the northwest area of Sydney. New South Wales Health is also monitoring travellers from New Zealand after a positive COVID-19 case was found in the New Zealand city of Auckland. There were 17,184 tests done in the latest reporting period. It is the longest streak without new infections since the 7th of October, when there was a run of 12 days without any new locally acquired cases. Queensland has recorded a historic women's state of origin victory by beating New South Wales 24-18 at Sunshine Coast Stadium. It is Queensland's first interstate victory since the fixture was branded as a women's state of origin. Maroons 5'8", Taryn Aiken was awarded the Nelly Doherty medal as the player of the match. And fullback Tamika Upton was outstanding for the home side with 2 tries. US President-elect Joe Biden will be briefed by national security experts next week amid concerns Donald Trump's refusal to grant him access to classified intelligence briefings could be a national security risk. Mr. Trump refuses to recognize Mr. Biden's win, depriving him of access to intelligence briefings. Mr. Biden's transition team says his lack of access could hurt his preparations to govern in the near future. And some Republicans, on the other hand, have urged Mr. Trump to grant Mr. Biden his rightful access. Corpses of ethnic Armenian soldiers have been seen lining stretches of a mountain in Nagorno-Karabakh as Russia works to negotiate the deployment of United Nations personnel in the disputed region. Russia is unilaterally deploying almost 2,000 troops along with tanks and other armor to secure a truce agreed this week, following a 6-week war over the ethnic Armenian enclave in Azerbaijan. Russia brokered a ceasefire between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and President Vladimir Putin said about 4,000 people were killed in the conflict on both sides. Moscow wants to involve the UN for a humanitarian response in the specific region. The Islamic State IS group has claimed responsibility for a recent attack on a non-Muslim cemetery in the Saudi Red Sea city of Jeddah, which wounded several people. People were wounded in the attack at a Remembrance Day event attended by several European diplomats. It was the first bombing targeted foreigners in Saudi Arabia in several years, and Saudi Arabia's embassy in the Netherlands received gunfire a day after this specific incident. Aung San Suu Kyi's ruling party secured an absolute majority in Myanmar's election, official results showed on Friday, in a poll disputed by the military-aligned opposition and criticized by rights groups. Her National League for Democracy, known as the NLD, had already declared a landslide victory based on its own tallies, prompting street celebrations by supporters. But official figures were still being returned 5 days after the ballot. Only the second such poll since the nation emerged from the outright military rule 9 years ago in 2011. Results announced by the Election Commission on Friday showed the NLD had won 368 seats, more than 50% of the parliament actually, even into taking account the quarter of the seats reserved for the military under the national constitution of the country. Now to the Indian COVID-19 update. Hindus around the world are marking the Diwali Festival of Lights, one of the most popular Indian festivals, amid soaring coronavirus cases in India. The Diwali Festival of Lights celebrates the triumph of light over darkness and good over evil. Scenes of shoppers preparing for the festival by stocking up on goods have boosted the economic outlook for business owners, but also contributed to fears of an upsurge in coronavirus infections. People have restricted their purchases to essentials for months, appear to be in a celebratory mood and traders are lapping it up, said Praveen Khandelwal, General Secretary of the Confederation of All India Traders. But millions of shoppers, a large number of people, were seen ignoring masks and also social distancing measures in major Indian cities and towns such as Chennai and Bangalore. India has confirmed more than 8.7 million cases of coronavirus infections, which is the second highest in the world, and more than 128,600 fatalities, unfortunately. A law firm representing President Donald Trump's campaign in challenging the US election results in Pennsylvania is officially and legally withdrawing at least one of the cases contesting the ballots in the battleground state. Democrat Joe Biden was projected to have captured the presidency on Saturday, thanks in part to a win in the city of Pennsylvania. Mr. Trump has refused to concede and has repeatedly alleged widespread voter fraud, for which there is still no whatsoever evidence. In a court filing on Thursday, lawyers at Porter Wright Morris and Arthur said it had agreed that its clients, the campaign and 2 registered voters, will be best served if Porter Wright withdraws. The campaign is in the process of retaining new counsel Porter Wright in the filing to the U.S. District Judge Matthew Brown in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. The lawsuit filed on Saturday in federal court in Pennsylvania alleges the state's mail-in voting system lacked all of the hallmarks for transparency and also verifiability that are present for in-person voters. That's all the news for this week. I'll see you next week. Stay tuned to Friendsworld TV for more around-the-clock news. This is Vishal reporting.